Hello and welcome to everyone. After a series of lecture, today we are here to discuss on the topic of competition law and policy in India. As our ex-finance minister said, no power on earth can stop an idea whose time has come, and that it is essential to increase the degree of competition between firms in the domestic market so that there are adequate incentives for raising productivity, improving efficiency and reducing cost. So, as India has again witnessing a huge amount of growth in the IT sector and in every single sector, and with this, after the foreign investment, we need to increase our domestic market in our India. So when we say a term competition, so in our general sense, we mean competition as an activity or condition of striving to gain or win something by defeating or establishing superiority over others. But if we treat the market is not something about winning or losing. Winning or losing depends for the particular entity. But as a market as a whole, for the consumer welfare, we need to see a complete growth and complete winning of all the players in the market. So by this, when we study competition law, so in that competition is just a process of economic activity or economic rivalry between market players to attract customers. There is nothing means कि someone will attract more consumer or less consumer. Everyone needs to attract the consumer. Customers should get all the incentives, all the benefits from the market which they deserve. Competition also refers to a situation in a business environment where business independently strive for the patronage of customers to achieve their business objective. Like as we know, all the business in India all over the world will only succeed when they will get the customers. A huge number of customers will lead to a huge number of profit in the market, and with the huge profit in the market, we will be getting a good economy and a huge economy, and with that ultimately we will get a gain in our GDP. And free and fair competition is one of the pillar of an efficient business environment. Till the time we are not giving free and fair in competition to the market players, to the customers, till that time we can't achieve our objective, that is a fair market. Now, what is competition law? As we understood about the competition in the market, about the competition, now why we came across to this particular law? So this law is not a law that we got from our independence. Firstly, we got a Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practice Act and a Consumer Protection Act, where one act protects the competition in the market and the other act provides the protection to the consumer. But when we see a Competition Law Act or a Competition Act, it provides us a complete competitive market and the public welfare in a one particular law. This particular law promotes or seeks to maintain market competition by regulating anti-competitive conduct by companies and independent nature of the business, and it protects the dominant nature, mergers and acquisition and several other things. Competition law ultimately provides you that every player in the market or every enterprise in the market, every association in the market should get a fair treatment, and with that fair treatment they attain the profit which they want. And on the parallel side, it also seeks a promise from every customer or provides a protection to all the customers that they will get the proper protection in the market and no enterprise or no player will dominate them. Now the competition law is also implements through public and private enforcement. It doesn't mean only public companies will come under the competition law or private companies will come under the competition law. All the companies or the body corporate or any association which is working in the market or playing as a player in the market forces, everyone will get attracted to the competition law. Now competition law is not a law which India has originated or which we are seeing in the Indian origin, but a competition law is something which we will see in all the economy, whether it is US, UK, China or anywhere. So every country holds their own name for a competition law. Like in India, we say this law is a competition law which is protecting consumer interest as well as market player interest. Now, the US law or US country emphasize competition law as an antitrust law, whereas China and Russia named it as anti-monopoly law. In previous years, United Kingdom, Australia, European Union came with this particular law just to protect the market in its real sense. Now, when we say competition law, so competition law came across with the government forces. Government created several policies, and out of those policies, we got our competition law. Now, competition policy, what does this mean? So, competition policy means government measures, policies, statutes, regulations, including a competition law. So, when we see a merging of policies into a one subset or into a one set, we will call that particular thing as a competition law. So, when you are studying a competition law, or talking about the competition law, talking about the competition in the market and every single thing, then you're talking about the government measures that they are taking at a several step. It's not the central government or state government. It is both the government who are taking several measures to protect the competition in the market. The policies created by our legislature system, statutes created by our legislative bodies, regulations set up, and the time to time amendment is all a mixture of a competition law. And ultimately, with these policies, with these measures, we are coming across with a word called competition law, whose ultimate aim or objective is just to protect the competitive market in India. We don't want to create a monopoly in the market where only one player is ruling the market, but we want number of players, a maximum number of players come into the market and they give their input to this particular market. So, if we go with a proper example, what is the real example of this particular thing? So, just take an example of telecommunication. So, when we have several companies who are providing us data services, talk time services and several other things, with that we are getting like Jio, Airtel, Idea, V Company and every single company who are giving their inputs, and by which every consumer is getting several choices in front of them where they can opt either Jio, either Airtel, either they can opt for V Company or either they can go for Vodafone. So, we are not restricting the consumers on their choices, but we are giving them liberty to use as number of facilities that they can get from the particular market forces. Now, when we see a competition law, so it is just a subset of competition policy. As we see above, competition law is a mixture of statutes, policies and several things. So, with this, several committees and organizations put their view on this particular competition policies. So, first is Raghavan Committee. As we know, Raghavan Committee is bit popular or so too much of popular in its nature. So, this committee observed that competition law must emerge out of a national competition policy. So, by that it means every nation or every jurisdiction will hold their own competition policy. We can't say that whatever policies we are implementing in India, the similar policies we can adapt in USA, UK or China. Every nation, every country, their nature is different, their market forces are different, their customers are different. So, accordingly this policy will also change and ultimately this law will change, and this will give us the evolution to serve the basic goals of economic reforms by building a competitive market economy. So, by ultimately our ultimate objective is to just protect this market, which should be competitive and not a monopoly market. Again, there is an organization called World Trade Organization, which we literally known as WTO, which defines competition policy as the full range of measures that may be used to promote competitive market structure and behavior. So, as we know this market when we say share market or when we study share market, every day we see a fall in the market or rise in the market. Now, this fall and rise completely depends on the demand and supply chain. How we are demanding different things, how we are the companies are supplying different particular things. And it includes not in a limited sense just a comprehensive competition law or a practice of competition or enterprises, but it adapts everything in a competition market as a whole. So, ultimately our major objective again come across to one thing only, that we should protect enterprises, that they should not go in the anti-competitive nature. Whatever they are signing or whatever contract they are creating, it should be beneficial for all the parties in this market. Now, the third policies that was generated or were adopted is by World Bank, which says a government measures. Now, when they say government measure doesn't mean a government as a whole of a whole world, but government of a particular nation, which directly affects the behavior of enterprise. Like in India, if there are several enterprises, so government will create a law according to those enterprises. Now when some foreign player will enter into the Indian market, they will have a protection that even they're a foreign company, but they will be getting a proper law on competition according to their nature. We can't enforce or we can't pressurize such companies, either a domestic or a foreign company, that they should follow or they should restrict themselves according to their laws. But we will be giving them the liberty according to the structure of industry. If there are industries like oil industry, petroleum industries, telecommunication industry, so every industry is having their own sectoral regulator. So one of the example is TRAI, Telecommunication Regulatory Authority of India, who is providing regulations just for the telecommunication industry. We have Airport Authority of India, who are providing regulations for the airline industry, so or aviation industry. So accordingly, we have created a structure accordingly by a particular government, which is providing several policies for that particular industries. These policies either will enhance the competition in the local or national market, or it will create a proper antitrust or anti-monopoly law. So when we see these 2 points, first point will protect not just the wider market or a national market, but it will also protect a local market, artisans, local players in the market. It will protect if you have some trade secrets, if you have your own traditional knowledge, like in the Andhra Pradesh region or in a Telangana region, we have our own traditional knowledge. So we are working on the upliftment of those traditional knowledge by giving them several kinds of funds, assistance and several other things by the government policies. So by this, we are not just protecting them, but we are protecting the market as well. And on the second hand, we are not creating a monopoly, but we are giving a chance, a proper and fair chance to all the players. Whoever wants to enter into the market, they can enter this market and create their own role in the particular industry. Now, when we see competition policies, laws, so why it is important? We studied several things, but why this competition policy is of utmost need in this particular market, and if we emphasize, then why it is important for the Indian market. So in 2001, there was a Nobel Prize winner called Joseph, who has rightly said, strong competition policy is not just a luxury to be enjoyed by rich countries, but a real necessity for those striving to create democratic market economies. So when we are studying about competition policy, so it doesn't mean that this competition policy is just for the developed countries, rich countries like USA, India, or countries like this, China, etc. But this is also a necessity for the countries who are just growing or at the urge of developing. Like when we say several other countries, like the African countries who are striving for their growth, to their economy to get boost up. So this competition policy for every nation, it is for the utmost need. Till the time the market is not growing, no single individual will come across with a proper salary, proper jobs. They will always strive for unemployment, illiteracy and every single thing. So it is just a realization of gain and greater competition. We want every player in the market, whether rich, poor, medium, MSME, any business, we want them to enter into the market, enjoy the market, and every single person should get something from this particular market. This market can work according to the cultures also, like India calls a diversity of culture. If you will go to one state, you will find different diversity in its culture. If you will go to the other state, you will find different nature of work. So we are protecting every nature, every culture, every localite, every single thing with this particular policy. Now when we say a particular principle of competition law, we are not just stating about the competition law in its own term, but competition law holds three basic elements. First element is anti-competitive agreement, that one enterprise should not create or should not enter with an agreement with the other enterprise in the market with the anti-competitive nature. And by the term anti-competitive, we means all the contracts with the enterprises with one another should be free from monopoly. For example, if I am one of the company and I want to enter with a contract to the another company, I can't tell them कि if you are giving me something, if you are selling me some type of raw material, then you can't sell this type of raw material to any other person in the world or any other person in India. this will create a monopoly. So out of that raw material, I will be the only company who are going with the production, and no other company in this market can get that particular raw material, can trade with that particular thing, and they can't create a similar product. So every person should get a proper resources, proper raw materials, and they should have a repression of free trade in this particular market. Now when we say a word cartel, this anti-competitive agreement under its section 3 emphasize on the word cartel. Like we have an example of cartel as OPEC. OPEC is an institution who controls a particular oil production in the world. They will create a monopoly. Whoever or whomever they want to sell the oil, they will sell to that particular country only. They won't be selling this particular oil to every single country. So that is their nature. But in Indian market, we try to demolish particular cartel. The example that I had given to you of OPEC, it is of Arab states, where they are creating a monopoly and they are emphasizing to which country they are going to sell the particular crude oil. Now when we say anti-competitive, cartels and everything, this thing will particularly lead to a monopoly in the market. So according to the Indian laws, Competition Act 2002, we prohibit this type of things. Second principle which Competition Act 2002 emphasize on, that is the abuse of dominant position. So we are banning this particular clause, and according to section 4, if any enterprises is abusing their dominant nature. Now what we understand by the term dominant nature? So any company who is holding a proper strength in the market, and with that strength they are dominating any enterprises in the market. So now with the simpler example, when we go to a particular class in a college, every class holds a class representative. So if that class representative holds a dominant position in the market in that particular class, and with that dominant position he can abuse or he can say anything to any particular students. So this particular thing is something wrong on the part of some other person. So if you are a CR, you hold a dominant position in the class, so you can't abuse one class of particular individual. You should show a equal treatment to every single individual in the class. So same thing applies in the market also. If you are a strong player in the market, like if we have a strong player called Reliance, if we have a strong player called Adani and several other people, so they can't abuse the market because of their dominant nature. And third principle is according to section 5, where they defined mergers and acquisition. Now what is merger? Merger is a collaboration of two companies and the creation of one company, either by absorption or by creation of new entity. So one of the example of this merger is Vodafone and Idea. Firstly, there used to be a two company called Vodafone and Idea, but after a merger we came across with only one company, that is V company. So this is a collaboration of two companies creating a forming of just one type of company. And acquisition is one of the example where we are taking the control of some other company, like Elon Musk acquired Twitter. So there now Twitter company is not having any control over their own company. Now the control goes to the Elon Musk. So the large corporation, when they are creating or collaborating with some other company, so then they should be fair with those companies also with the particular laws. So for this we have section 5 and section 6 under our Competition Act 2002. Now when we study competition law, competition policy, so what is the objective behind this particular thing? So the utmost objective behind the competition law and policy in India, firstly the practice that we are talking about the competition law, it will vary from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. But in all the jurisdiction, the ultimate objective for competition law and policy is just the protection of the interest of customers or the consumers. The consumer welfare is of utmost importance, and ensuring the enterprise that all the enterprises should create a contract, should use their dominant position, should merge with some other company with the utmost nature of consumer welfare and provide the better services to the customers in the market. So there are several principles on which this particular policies and laws used to create. So first is forced all the particular private and public sectors, ensure the facilities that everyone in this market will get, facilitate with all the necessary resources, separate them with the policies which they want in the particular sector, ensure them the fair market balance or create a balance between all type of enterprises and ensure them that they will be protected or they will be transparent in nature and notify every single thing to the government and respect the international or the national obligations. By this particular this policies and laws, what benefit we will be getting? So first benefit, that the business will come up with the new innovation, and the second, that consumers will get large number of options while choosing between several kind of products. And this particular thing will give utmost protection to the consumers by enforcement or by creating and enforcing a deal that whatever product they are purchasing, they will be getting at a proper price with a better quality, with a number of choices, and they will be getting in every product number of innovations as well. Now at last, for these policies and for this law, legislature is working, judiciary is working, executive bodies are working. But to broaden the jurisdiction of CCI in this Competition Act, we are monitoring that Section 49 is one of the provision where we are providing a concept called competitive advocacy in this competitive environment. And this competitive advocacy is something where CCI, Competition Commission of India, will be providing or will be acting as an advocate for the legislative body. Whenever union and state government want to create any activities, so for corporate entities, for consumer activists, for regulatory organization, they will be act as an advocate for the legislatures, and for that particular thing, the ultimate objective is the customer well-being. So at last, I just want to conclude by saying that competition policies and law, it is a proper law for the market and for the consumer. If we are lacking behind with this particular law, so we got a particular data that in India 80% of people are lacking the awareness about competition law, and out of the enterprises there are 70% enterprises who are unaware about the documentation of this particular thing. So I just want to create an awareness with this particular thing, that every time whatever you're seeing, the enterprises should feel protected and the consumer should get the benefit out of this thing. So thank you everyone, and after this we are going to get in the next session with the other types of laws and the information regarding other laws. Thank you.